Hey ArkLaTex's, Chase the Ace here with BDP Inc., Texarkana Radio Center, and the EdgeTXK.com. First off, as always, Namaste. I hope everyone is enjoying some off time as we inch closer and closer to the start of the 2018 dirt racing season. But today, I'm coming at you here for another reason. One that's been on my mind for some time now, and finally I've been able to complete this little project. This is a video that I've been working on that also includes myself narrating the Billy Robinson magazine article that I wrote for the Competitive Edge magazine here in Texarkana that is yet to be printed at this time. I put it together with some pictures and videos found on a lot of your Facebook pages from the wonderful family and friends of Mr. Robinson, plus some that were found online as well. Now, to kind of explain, a lot of you local to Texarkana, of course, know about the magazine, but for those that don't, they've ran for a few years here in Texarkana. It's a free edition that can be picked up at many different locations, but they didn't produce anything, unfortunately, in 2017. They were ready to get back out there towards the end of the last quarter, and it was tentatively planned to release again monthly around the 1st of November, but due to unforeseen circumstances with the illness that came up with our main production and editor of the magazine, they have chosen to put things on hold until further notice. And I will say too, JB, if you catch this at all, man, we've been thinking about you a lot. I hope everything's going as good as it can be, bud, and stay strong, bud. Now, I do still have full expectation that the article will run in the magazine. I just don't know when it's going to happen at this time, gang. It's a month wait at this point, so hopefully sooner rather than later, of course, we'll be able to get to see this thing in print. But for now, I got a little impatient, in a sense, and thought it would be cool to do a tribute video to Mr. Billy, as his birthday was right around the corner when I originally thought of this. Now, with all the audio grabs, video grabs, editing, things like that were involved in doing this little endeavor, I wasn't able to complete it on time to be something I posted on his birthday. Now, as most of us know, Mr. Billy didn't rush anything or do anything halfway, basically. So the last thing I was going to do was rush this or not complete it up to the standards it needed to be done by. So before I bring you that, I want to again thank each and every one of you that helped me out on this piece in some manner. I hope I don't forget anyone here, but I really do mean it from the bottom of my heart, gang. I appreciate each and every one of you, whether it was in person, by phone, through texting, and so on. So thank you to the Robinson family. Kathy and BJ both were nice enough to speak to me during that time. Thanks to Johnny Kemp, Steve Haley, Dick Tinsley, Johnny Vaught, Ronnie Humphrey, Bill Kitchen, Dustin Hyde, Chris Hennigan, Mike Washburn, James and Jamie Kyle, Steve Ward, Corey Smith, and Charlotte Strickland. I'll also add into that Jerry Rubley, who was the man that helped me get the 01 Strong Billy Robinson sticker onto the truck of Tommy Joe Martin's during the NASCAR Truck Series race at Texas Motor Speedway this last fall. Without his help, I never would have been able to get that done. I have never really wrote an article of any sort. Last writing I did was probably in high school, and it probably wasn't that good then. But I hope I did do well enough to articulate everything that I meant here and for people to understand just how great Mr. Billy Robinson was. He truly is an icon of the ArkLaTex's dirt racing scene. So without further ado, let's check it out. But also, everyone, always remember this. We are 01 Strong. ArkLaTex's crown jewel racer drives his final race in walk-off fashion. As the nature boy Ric Flair famously cited, in order to be the man, you've got to beat the man. Well, in the ArkLaTex's dirt racing community, that man was known as Billy Robinson. A pioneer of dirt track racing in this region, Billy's story first began on January 21st, 1949 in Carthage, Texas. He was a gift from the racing heavens, sent to Margie E. Pike Robinson and William A. Robinson. They were simple country folk who enjoyed their later years taking trail rides. Billy's father virtually rebuilt old wagons from scratch, often starting with just the bed of a wagon. He did everything by hand. The carpentry, the cover sewing, and even the leather work for the harnesses were all done by William Robinson's rough hands. It was all for fun, though, as once finished he would take trail rides all over this region. He and his wife traveled from Shreveport to Baton Rouge to Texarkana and elsewhere in the wagons that he built by hand, sometimes taking up to 2 weeks on those trips. As the old saying goes, the acorn doesn't fall far from the tree. And it indeed did not for the Robinsons, although Billy would be enthralled by a different kind of horsepower. At the young age of 5, his parents had only a work truck and a family car, and one day, unfortunately, that Chevy car broke down. His father figured this out and went out and got another carburetor and left it in the shop to be worked on after he got off work that day. When he returned home, though, and he went to the shop, he found that carburetor in pieces on the floor and tools everywhere. It seems that in this moment for Billy, that would lead to his fascination with cars and racing.
Many people don't know that, like that big haul trailer he got in his mind, he can build that. Now, you wouldn't know that he built all that because the way it looks, the way it operates, the whole 9 yards, he built that. He pulled it out there and he built it. He said, I'm not going to have air conditioning because I'm going to insulate this trailer the way I know. And it'd be cool sitting up in there. Sure enough, his trailer would be just as cool. Everybody else got air conditioning trying to keep doors shut. Here's Billy right there at the back of it. Just a light fan and everything was good. So he built that whole thing, so that was pretty good too. That big haul trailer he got, that double stacker, Billy built that. He designed it in his head, and he did it. And, the inside and out, the whole 9 yards, he did everything.
When we traveled, me and Billy went to Iowa together. Nobody hardly knows that kind of stuff. We went to Super Nationals in '94, and I made the show. And I guarantee you, I credit it to my crew was great that year, my father-in-law and all of them. We worked hard. But Billy helped us too. When I was on the front, I tell you what, I'm going to tell you something. When I was on the back strap, back in them days, when you qualified for Boone, they stopped you on the racetrack. They stopped the field on the racetrack, top 8. Matter of fact, I've got a picture. I'm sitting in my shop. I got a picture of 5th row outside, starting a 33-car field. When Billy got to me that would have been Thursday night. No, that would have been Friday night. That was Friday night. When he got to me on the back straightaway, he literally picked me up, and we was crying. We were so happy. And he was throwing me up. I'll never forget it. He was throwing me up in the air. And I said, man, he cared that much.
Now, Billy would later move over into the state of Louisiana, where he set up his own roots and began a family, as well as a historical career in dirt track racing. He went to North Louisiana College of Sheet Metal and would end up being known as one of the best around in his race car body and sheet metal work. Mike Washburn, a future competitor on the dirt track, also went to the same learning establishment, but before that his father was there during the same time as Billy Robinson. Little did either of them know, though, just how talented in the end Billy was going to be. Another competitor on the track, Steve Haley, once had a race car that he was personally done with and wanted Billy to fix up the body so he could get rid of it. By the time he was done with that car, though, Steve couldn't bear to sell it. The master craftsmanship that was produced by Mr. Billy had convinced him that he had to keep it. Others as well, like Johnny Kemp, echoed the same sentiment in talks of different cars that Billy had done for them through many years of racing around this ArkLaTex scene. Also, another well-known and accomplished ArkLaTex racer of the current era, Chris Hennigan, told me everything from the suspension and setups to the sheet metal work he learned from Billy Robinson.
Modified racing. There's one driver that, other than he would watch BJ, and there was only other one driver that, when BJ went driving late models, he loved to watch, and he called him Christopher, and that was Chris Hennigan. He'd love to see Chris Hennigan start mid-pack and end up winning or something. He loved that. He loved watching the modifieds, racing modifieds too, but when he got where he wasn't running a modified, he'd sit up there in the booth with us, and he'd watch that. He'd be like, watch Christopher, here he comes, Here, he liked that.
Everything that I do now was taught by Billy. I may have learned some other stuff from some other people, but Billy, me and Johnny working him to death all the time, getting it out. He's done built the Z and bodies for us and everything else. He's a sheet metal man by trade, but he could build some pretty damn cars. I remember he built one for me one time that I was so disgusted with it, I was wanting to sell and get out. I told him, put a sail body on that car. I need to get rid of it. He made it so pretty I couldn't get rid of it. He could make one look good too. If you ever look at his cars, he had a different way of doing them, and they look a hell of a lot better than most cars out there on the track. But he's a sheet metal man. It's like Gene Border told me. He said, you got to have some kind of body rules in the class, because if you don't, Billy Robinson will make an airplane.
Now, when Billy decided that he was going to dive into the dirt track scene head first, he learned quickly what it was going to take to be a competitor in the sport and easily adapted as needed. That time in racing, he ran what they referred to as a full body car, which was about the only class option other than the early model car. Somewhere around the late 1960s, he would team up with Clem Vaught and traveled to Texarkana, where he purchased a number 21 blue sedan from Delbert Jones. Clem bought a Chevy motor and a trailer for the car, and they started a learning experience for them both into dirt track racing. It took them borrowing tools and equipment from others to make it all work out in the end, but the racing community has always been one to support and assist their own, whether friends or rivals or rookies. Later on, though, the duo would split up as Clem's son, Johnny Vaught, would break onto the dirt track scene himself and find success during his time behind the wheel.
The funniest thing I can remember is we was at Champion Park, and this is before Steve and them started racing, and as Billy called it, the log trucks. We had racing trucks, and we parked off on the side there. It's one of the first times I've ever been to Champion Park, and man, I was so excited to get there. I get there and I pull the grill out and I start cooking a bunch of chicken and sausage and stuff like that. You know, Billy was so superstitious in that way. He wouldn't even come around. Get that out of here. Chicken on race day? No, not with Billy. You see some of these people like with the all kind of ideas and stuff like that, but nope. Chicken on race day, you don't do that. He got where he wouldn't even eat chicken during Monday, I guess, need more luck or something, but he, that's Billy. He likes to do things on his own. If he was going to fix your rear end and build your rear end in your car, bring it over, he'll get the parts, and he'll do it. And a lot of times, there's very, very, very few people he would let be in his shop and work on their stuff, and one was Bubba Bynes. Bubba, he'd let Bubba work on his car in his shop and stuff. And he told me, as much as I talk, I'm only allowed in there so much while we're working on cars and stuff. He said I hold him up. So I didn't ever get to work on my car with him after all these years. Unless he just needed extra hand, I'll be right there. But I live about 5 miles from him, if that. And we went over there. I was over there pretty regular. So he will be missed.
I don't really know if it was Devil's Bowl or but it was a track over Texas. It's the first time Billy Robinson ever seen tear-offs. Him and Doug Ingalls and them was over racing, and they found all these tear-offs. They didn't know what they was. So they figured out what they was, and they was picking them up and washing them and cleaning them so they could use them. Well, they was there all day racing, and it was real dirty. So there was a pond, and they decided they was going to go out that pond and take them a bath. Well, they busted down to the underwear, run out to the pond and take a bath, and they started playing. And as the playing was going on, they didn't realize time got away. When they got out of the pond to run back to their trailer, everybody done come to the pits. So they was in their underwear.
Oh, wow.
So he goes, Billy said he sat there for a few minutes. He said, damn, I got to do it. So he just took off running to his trailer. That had to be, but that was back in the 70s.
Shortly thereafter, Billy would later team up with another legendary family of the sport, the Ingalls, mainly Doug Ingalls. He drove a number 01 Vega winged race car that would be remembered for ages. Ronnie Humphrey, the brother of Gene Humphrey, recalled watching him in that car as a kid at Boot Hill Speedway, and he was one of the favorite drivers that he liked to watch. As he got better and better with his driving skills and learned about what it took to compete and become a winner in the sport, he finally conquered a race night and brought home the checkered flag in the main feature race. Now prior, Mr. Billy had won heat races, trophy dashes, a few all-winners races, but he hadn't got that final checker that he dreamed of. There was a man in the stands that night that still remembers the race to this day, Dick Tinsley. He recalled the race to be absolutely remarkable, one of the best driving exhibitions he'd ever seen. He said Billy picked up the win in every race that night, which included 2 heat races, a trophy dash, the all-winners race, as well as the main feature. Billy did that against some of the elite drivers of that era, including names like Ray and Doug Ingalls, Ronnie Adams, Billy Melton, Sam Watson, Peanut Horton, Ace Hennigan, and Junior Daughtery. Now, back in this era of racing, you built your own suspension parts, your own steering components, motor, chassis, pretty much the whole kit and caboodle. Now, that was fine, though, for Mr. Billy, because he was a racer's racer with the talent and knowledge to do it all. That was just one of many accolades that he would hold during his remarkable 68-year life on this earth.
I can tell you a few things about Billy. He was, I guess you'd want to say, in his work, air conditioner world, he was perfectionist. Everything had to be perfect, although it wasn't that way, and that was the same way his car was built. Down to the point of the valve stem cap. Every one of his tires has valve stem caps screwed on perfect. He don't loan the tire gauge because some people don't use it and it gets dirt from his. So his tire gauge was always monitored. And if you did park next to Billy and have to use his tire gauge, well, he wants to make sure you got caps on your valve stem. If not, go find another one. You know, he was that way. He was that way about pretty much all his stuff. Everything had to be on that race car perfect. He said you had all week. We don't work on race cars on Friday and Saturday. We have them ready to load. Sunday you wash it. Monday you order it. Tuesday and Wednesday you fix it. Thursday you prep it. Friday you get it ready to load. Now that's Billy right there. That summed up his week. He'll work 12 hours a day on air conditioning in the summertime. Come home, it'd be 9, 10 o'clock at night. He'll be out there working on his car. And that he might not work on his car, or his car don't need that much. But it might be people like me need a bumper. I need my carburetor hung or something. I need you to look at this, Billy. It ain't running right. Well, we do that Monday and Tuesday because the rest of the week, that's when he took his time.
Now, later on, when the racing class referred to as IMCA broke onto the southern racing scene, Billy Robinson was the first driver in the four-state area to own one. Now, by the stories told from the legends of racing during that time period, it's a little conflicting, but from what I gather, it wasn't by very many days that he earned that record. There was another competitor by the name of Gene Humphrey that may have already been building his modified when Billy Robinson ordered one from Arizona and got it put together. This class is where Billy truly found his groove and let the dirt track racing scene know that he was the top dog. He was so good that his talents would lead him to racing all around the United States, picking up feature wins all over this great country, and basically going anywhere that he could pull that modified. Along with him came another icon of the early modified days, Gene Boyder. Not long after Billy got his car together, Gene said he just had to have one himself. Both Billy and Gene would travel the nation and leave their mark in several places along the way, mainly being Victory Lane at many different dirt tracks. Now, another one of Billy's competitors in future years, Bubba Vines, would be quoted saying, they would sometimes travel to Memphis for a Friday night race, then to Missouri for a Saturday race, and then come back to this area to race on Sunday. Later on during the same racing era, another ArkLaTex's local driver would have the honor to travel and race alongside with both Gene and Billy. His name was Steve Rebel Ward. Now, he recalled many travels with the duo, but the one that stood out the most was a trip in 1994 with Billy Robinson to the IMCA Super Nationals in Boone, Iowa. Steve credits his team and crew for helping him get to that stage of his racing career as he made the big show with 32 others that year. But he also said a huge factor in that, as well, was Mr. Billy. Now, Steve and Billy didn't always get along, and they rarely agreed with each other, it seemed. But in the dirt track racing family, that is common. And it didn't mean that you weren't friends who cared and helped each other along the way. Steve himself won hundreds of races during his career, and he told me that winning those races was 100% due to Billy Robinson.
One of my best friends, Billy Robinson. I mean, me and Billy did not get along a lot of the time. But without a doubt, why I've won the races I've won in my career is 100% due to him. He taught me how to go slow with these modifieds and learn how to race. And did we get along? No, we didn't get along at all. Was we friends? Yes, we were friends. Would we do anything for one another? Yes. Didn't agree with one another. But still a great guy. Just like I went and seen his wife and his son. I said, well, I couldn't hardly get along with that son gun, but I sure loved him. And that's the same way I feel about Alan. There's nothing Alan wanted to talk that I wouldn't try to do. Same with his two boys. I think I have much respect for them. Billy and Gene Border really took me under their wing when I went in modified racing. We went to Mexico together. We went everywhere together. They took me and showed me how to win. And then when they taught me how to win, then we kind of split. Gene Border, I claimed Gene motor one night. And offset of that, one night we was in Devil's Bowl and he blowed up my hot bass. And I said, where you going? He said, I'm going home, blow my motor up. So, oh, no, you not. I got a spare. I put my spare motor in the car that night, and I won, and he won second. I didn't go to Devil's Bowl to outrun Joe Blow. I go over to outrun Gene Border.
Now, one of the most memorable moments to many fans and drivers during Billy's time of racing modifieds was with his son, BJ, a teenager at the time breaking into racing himself. Bill Kitchen told it best. There was a night at Boot Hill Speedway where Billy's race car broke and forced him to pull into the infield and become a spectator for the final laps. Now, the fans that night will tell you they weren't only watching the race, but they were watching the infield and Mr. Billy. He became so animated to the point that fans had no choice but to notice the passion being shown from the infield in what was truly a touching moment. The leader that night, his son BJ, who would go on to win his first modified feature race.
Yeah, that's what I wrote on Facebook. Everybody knew Billy on Saturday night. Everybody knew Billy when he pulled in. They knew that the racing was going to be, he was watching, okay? Watching. He's going to be, he's competitive in whatever class he ran. And there's times Billy went and drove my limit, okay? Just stuff like that. I got Billy built my motor for my car. I got just as much power as the rest of them, I guess. I hope, And, just stuff like that. You'd run it. You got it. Come Monday, everybody went to work and everybody's got this and that. And basically, there's Bubba Vines, and that's his buddy, big time. They would go everywhere. Me and Steve Haley would stay here, But come Monday, we'd talk and stuff like that, or have lunch from when we were working. If I was in the area around lunch, we'd always eat lunch together and stuff. So we always had a good time.
Now, Billy was a believer in the old saying, to finish first, you must first finish. You see, as great of a racer as Billy was, and with literally hundreds of wins under his belt during his career on the track, he probably left quite a few wins on the table for others. Not that he didn't want those wins, but he was too busy helping others. Whether it was teaching them about the setup of the race car, body work, engine work, it didn't matter how many times you ran up against Mr. Billy on the track. He would go out of his way to help any other driver that needed it. From rookies starting out to drivers that had been in this sport as long as himself. He had an ultimate goal, I believe, to help those drivers and in turn help the sport that he loved so deeply. He wanted this sport to be better off after he left it than when he began, and he did exactly that. From the days of dominating in IMCAs and modifieds to his last years in racing driving the Pro Mod division, Billy found exactly what he was put here to do. That was to love his family first, but also help his fellow competitors no matter what, and then go out there and beat them on the dirt.
He believed in, when you come to the track, and I say this a lot about racing. I mean, we was around him more than racing, but in the race world, he believed you made your stuff look good every Saturday night. clean everything, showing how much you care about what you do. And that's what he did in his stuff. Everything he had was always nice when he shows up. Now, it might happen in the first heat race, everything gets tore up, and Jack was an idiot. You know, you could hear it all night long. He's an idiot. He's just an idiot, you know. But you can't drive your way out of a Cracker Jack box. He ain't bad. He wasn't bashful.
Yeah.
Or nothing. In the same note, next week, his car looked back perfect. And he'd be right there.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, I know I screwed up and I shouldn't have done that, and blah, blah, blah. But Billy, you know, he'd say it.
Yeah.
Now, and everybody would tell you he'd tell you that, stuff like that. But you know what? When Billy would say that, it wasn't stuff to start a fight. Billy would help that last place guy out when they're racing. You know, not during race. I'm talking about, you know, it's like sometimes I'd be like, dang, Billy, that dude's gonna run all over everybody. He's like, I'll talk to him. He'll go over and he'll start telling me this and that. And I'll be like, what you doing? He said, I'm trying to keep him from running over my car.
There you go.
If I get him going straight, he won't run over my car.
Right.
But that's the mentality.
Now, at ArkLaTex's Speedway, Vivian, Louisiana, September 23rd, 2017, a night that many of us will never forget. It was the Tootsie Smith Memorial Race, and it would turn out to be the last night of the races for Mr. Billy. Now, Billy left us in true walk-off fashion as he won the heat race with ease. He did start on the back row that night and passed 9 cars on the first lap, and if not for a late caution, he would have won his heat race by a half a lap. Then he led every lap of the feature race until we lost him on that final turn. There was no crash. Billy was known to dislike cautions with a passion, and in his final moments he lived up to his standards and ensured there would be no interruption in this race. A couple times the car went sideways for a second, and then Billy must have wheeled that car somehow around the track for those final laps. He took the checkered flag as he rolled towards the infield and stopped over by turn 1. We didn't know it yet, but Billy Robinson had ran his last race on this earth and left us in a way that only a true legend could write.
Modified race, especially with Alan and Laney, that we'd hear Robinson's here, you pretty much knew he was going to be somebody to contend with, you know. So,
Well, that's true. Now, that right there is true.
you know, I still can't wrap my head around finally getting my butt in that booth and getting to call some races up there with what Bill let me do Saturday night, and then this whole thing, you know, happening. And I got to call a couple of the B mains for the limiteds, and then I called the Pro Mod A main with Steve Cape, and you know, just a bittersweet memory it's going to be, you know.
That's true. So, now that part's true.
Well, yeah, I know when I was talking to Tater Sunday there, you know, Saturday night when everything happened, it didn't take me long to put the bells together in my head to text Tater. I knew he was down at Rose Bowl and kind of let him know that something had happened, something was going on, you know. And I talked to him Sunday, and I think he even ended up putting some on Facebook, but he was telling me, you know, about when he was running that USMTS back in 07, 08, sometime around there, and he had a string of bad luck where he had blown up several motors in a row, and somehow Billy had got word of it, I guess. And,
That's right. We loaded a motor up for him to finish.
Yep. And said it was just kind of out of the blue that Billy had hollered at him and said, hey, you know, you running this weekend or something, where you going? And then Tater told me, you know, what was going on. And Billy pretty much said, yep, that's what I thought. I got a motor sitting here, you know, let's get it to you. So,
That is true.
You know, and not, you know, the racing community is like that too.
I'm going to tell you something else. They come up at the end of the week, and we loaded. I was over there and helped Tater load it up. I remember that. It's a shot, but if he could write, like I said to BJ, is if he could write his own way out, he would have wrote it that way. He wasn't a lap short. he went out on the last lap. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. How he willed that car around there as much as he did out there at the end, man, I don't know, but
the way he works on that car and the way that car's set up, that was somebody else driving. Yeah, but like I say, he went the way he went. That's John Wayne, Jesse James, all of them right their own way. But Billy Robinson, he went out the way he went. So
There are many words that could describe what Billy Robinson meant to the dirt track racing sport in our area. Pioneer, inaugurator, ambassador. But for most that knew him, it was friend. Billy was a racer's racer, and racing was lucky to have earned Billy's love. Our sport and local dirt community lost one of the most innovative, one of the kindest human beings to ever grace the dirt. There isn't much doubt in my mind that he was destined to become a racer, because for what it took to be a great in this sport, he had the complete package and almost unmatchable driving skills. I say almost because he leaves behind a strong legacy that's going to be carried on by his son BJ, who, just like his dad, slings dirt better than the average Joe. I want to thank the Robinson family for all they've done for this sport. His wife Kathy, his son and daughter-in-law BJ and Kelly, his daughter and son-in-law Angie and Bernie Thornton, and his grandchildren Tanner, Will, Bryn, and Reese. Billy helped build this sport into greatness around the ArkLaTex's, and if it wasn't for him and the sacrifices his family made for him and BJ, we'd all be a little bit less of the people that we are today. Billy taught us the right way to do things. He never shied away from voicing his opinion, whether it was favorable or not. We will be forever in debt to Billy Robinson for what he has done for this sport, for our drivers, for our tracks, and for ourselves. I think I can speak for everyone in the ArkLaTex's dirt racing community when I say that Mr. Billy may be gone, but his legacy will carry on for generations to come. Never forget, we are 01 strong.
Hey, it's unbelievable. It's a relationship. It's like Gene said. One week Gene's going to be mad at you, next week he can do anything for you. And the last time I raced against Billy Robinson through Hill on Pro Mod, he loaned me a tire and a wheel. So I come down there with the wrong tires, and they said he wouldn't let me run, and he loaned me a tire and a wheel.
never done it before. Johnny got me interested in it, and me and him together didn't know nothing. And Billy helped us all the way through. Billy was the kind that could help you whether you didn't know or you knew everything. You know what I mean? And you can tell how, when he got a little bit older. When I first met him, he had 2 modifieds, and he was experimenting. He experimented all the time, but he liked one car better than the other one, so he'd get rid of it, and then he'd get another one, and he'd like it better than the other. So, he just was experimenting with what he had all the time. But he got a little bit older there, and he was finally playing to himself, but he knew, the writing on the wall. And when Gene made that Pro Mod class, it was mainly because everybody and their brother had a 3-link sitting outside their back door that, nobody raced anymore, and that was a lot of cars around or so. But that fit Billy to the teeth. They'd been racing them 3 links forever, and he knew everything about one of them. You know what I mean? There wasn't nothing he didn't know about a 3-link. That's kind of what it showed on the track. When he finally figured it out, he was gone. But you don't learn that kind of stuff without being a racer all your life.
Let's go 3 wide for second. What a race. get the good out of it. Like I say, guys, this is one of the good guys in the sports. You don't see him in victory lane that often. He doesn't race that often. But you will not find a finer man than this gentleman right here who's about to climb out of the race car. He deserves a huge round of applause from you race fans because he just put on a display of pure flawless driving ability. Man, that was outstanding. Hey, I told you earlier, just lay it all out there. Hang it all out there. Getting the head and neck restraint off, and the 5-point horse will celebrate his first ever victory here in Crowley, Texas tonight. On opening night, a RaceOnTexas.com limited modified winner. Give it up to the left for Steve Haley at 31. What a run tonight, Steve. 6 laps to go, man. You're running fourth. Let's turn and face the here. I told you tonight, Steve, just let it all hang out. You said that you're going to have to hang it up for a little while. You're about to go back to work, so you're going to really hang it all out tonight.
Yeah, that was it. That was it. I got to go out of town for a little while, but I'll be hurrying to get back.
Absolutely. Leaving a really good race car here. Anybody you want to thank in particular?
Oh, man, there's a lot of people. Johnny Kemp. Oh, wait a minute, Johnny. I got to thank my wife first. Shannon Haley. You busted me last time, so I'm not going to let you do it this time. Shannon Haley, my wife, she lets me do this. I love it. Johnny Kemp, he helps me. Billy Robinson, he helps me. Lauren Spears doing some machine work for me. There's so many people involved. It's just like life. You're not going to make it without friends' help. And I got lucky.
I don't know about that, man. You really, Timberline Speedway, did he not earn this victory tonight? You earned that one, Steve.
Thank you, Bob.
Fourth to the win with 4 to go, man. I can't script it any better for you, man. That was movie stuff coming down to it, man. Outstanding run tonight, man. You're a well overdue, well-deserved racer. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm going to remember this for a long time.
Anybody wants to go back, it'll be on RaceOnTexas.com. RaceOnTexas Limited Modified opening winner of 2017 goes to Bossier City.
Woo! Good job, Billy.
How about it, Billy? I tell you, us race fans, man, it seems like a little bit since you've been here, man. I mean, you've been to Victor Lane quite a few times. You've had a really good year, but after you won that last thousand win presented by Shreveport Sewing Center, you had to go back to work and find something. Yeah, put a 4-bell on it. So, well, what's the difference there? Tell the race fans, between the 2 and the 4. Believe it or not, 4-bell just makes the car hook up better. How fast was this track tonight? I mean, it's really quick out there. These slick pull-off tires, and I can tell. Tell you what, Billy, what does it mean to you get back here at Victor Lane? I was looking at some results earlier, 10 years ago to today. B.J. Robinson won the modified race here at the racetrack. You finished 3rd. Pretty cool stuff. You look back on results like that, and hey, the Robinson family's still getting it done.
Yeah, BJ, he's in Salina, Oklahoma tonight. He qualified 4th. They roll outside and picture up there.
Tell everybody you want to thank on this 01 car. I know you put the bill, a lot of this stuff yourself. Tell everybody that helps you.
First of all, I want to thank my wife for putting up with me. My grandson, Bubba Vines, Sarah Vines, believe it or not, Michael Peach.
He got bit. The bandit Michael Peach got bit. You didn't want to see that over there. Through glass traffic, it was getting heavy. Did you not want to see it, not knowing how far second was, or did it give you some relief there getting out of lane traffic? I was getting pretty good. I got a little worried there. Then there was something in the track up there. You hit the wall. Yeah. You had to hold on to her there. Awesome run for you, Billy. Always great to see you, Victor Lane, here, my friend. Absolutely. You've just been on it. It doesn't matter what racetrack you check into. Look, I feel like it's 1997 all over again sometimes.
Yeah, pretty good.
I'll tell you, how much fun are you having right now, Billy? You won 2 straight Louisiana State Dirt Track Championships. You won the ArkLaTex's championship. Just seems like you can't do a whole lot wrong right now in this racing program.
Well, it's got a good car. I work on it.
What's this racetrack like right now? I know Gene cut some of that moisture there off, or some of the slick stuff off the top there, and I know it's a little dusty, but tell me from your vantage point what the track's like right now.
It's pretty slick coming out of the farm.
Where do you expect these? Where do you expect these factory stock drivers to be out there?
The top.
Around the top. But hey, if they get that bottom swept off too, we might have a race here.
Yeah, if they can get something with that right there.
That's the worst place. I know you got a lot of people to thank Billy that help you out in your racing program. Tell us everybody that helps you out.
I broke something in my motor right there on the start.
So you need to thank that motor man too, though, because I think that's probably the first failure you probably had all year, and it still made it to the checkers.
Yeah, motor-wise, yeah.
Anybody you want to thank otherwise? I know, your wife, of course.
Thank Earl Baxter with 41 shots. Two grandsons for helping me out, and my wife, all the bunch that I drink coffee with, in Blanchard every morning. Dean Stiles, my son BJ. I guess that's pretty much it, right?
It's been a good year for the Robinsons, though. Father and son, still getting it done, man. Decades later, I grew up watching both of you guys race, but keep it up, Billy. You ain't never lost it. You still got this stuff just like you did 30 years ago, man. What do you got to say to all those Billy Robinson fans here tonight? Believe it, I guarantee you got some fans here tonight. What do you got to say to all those folks who want to see this 01 car at Victor Lane?
Well, thank y'all for coming out and watching this. Where you live at? It's a real good class. If anybody wants to get into racing, needs to get into this. It's expensive because it's racing, but it's not near as expensive as the other stuff.
He tells it exactly like it's supposed to be told, folks. Give it up for him out of Blanchard, Louisiana, the driver of the 01, Billy's AC entry, Billy Robinson.
It was painted red, the stripe was white, it was 18 feet from the bow to the stern light. Second hand from a dealer in Atlanta, I rode up with Daddy when he went there to get her. Put on a shine, put on a motor, built out of love, made for the water. Ran her for years till the transom got rotten. A piece of my childhood that'll never be forgotten. It was just an old plywood boat with 75 Johnson with electric choke. A young boy, two hands on the wheel. I can't replace the way it made me feel, and I would turn her sharp knot, make it whine. He'd say, you can't beat the way an old boat rides. Just a little late across the Alabama line, but I was king of the ocean when Daddy let me drive. Just an old half-ton short bed Ford my uncle bought new in '64. Daddy got it right, cause the engine was smoking. Couple of burned valves and he had it going. He let me drive her and we'd haul off a load down a dirt strip where we'd dump trash off a thick tin road. I'd sit up in the seat and stretch my feet out to the pedals, smiling like a hero that just received his medal. It was just an old hand-me-down Ford with 3-speed on the column and a dent in the door. A young boy, two hands on the wheel. I can't replace the way it made me feel, and I would press that clutch and I'd keep it right. And he'd say, a little slower, son, you're doing just fine. Just a dirt road with trash on each side, but I was merry and ready when Daddy let me drive. I'm grown up now, 3 daughters of my own. I let them drive my old Jeep across the pasture at our home. Maybe one day they'll reach back in their file and pull out that old memory and think of me and smile and say, it's just an old worn out Jeep, rusty old floorboards, hot on my feet. A young girl, 2 hands on the wheel. I can't replace the way it made me feel. And he'd say, turn it left and steer it right. Straighten up, girl, now you're doing just fine. Just a little valley by the river where we'd ride, but I was high on a mountain when Daddy let me drive. Daddy let me drive. Oh, he let me drive.
I called Ricky Burke today at Boot Hill, and I told him, I said, Ricky, I just can't. I'll go Saturday, but I just can't race Saturday. I just, it's tough. Even though in the racing world, you go into the pits and right there past the ticket booth, you start saying, "Hey, man, how y'all doing?" "Oh, we're doing great today." You know everybody. But Billy, I knew him Monday through Friday. And on Saturday, he was there. He'd come up and watch me. He'd come Monday morning. "Why did you change lanes?" You'd always get that from him. "Why you were faster there and you moved." That's stuff. That was just Billy. He'd hammer me all the time, and the next day he's sitting over here and "Kathy made this deer meat. Come try it." We'd bring him some deer and fish or whatever we're doing. Always get Billy to come over and eat crawfish with us, and just, it's his family. It wasn't just Billy; it's Kathy too. It was it's just shocking. Just shocking. I can say this. He knew this weekend I'm a Shriner, and the big deal in Shreveport is a Shriner circus for all the kids, the hospital kids and stuff like that. And he made me a bumper because last time we raced, the car started spinning, and it been in my bumper pretty good, and I told Billy I need a bumper. He made me one, and doggone it, he knew where I was, he knew what I was doing, and I told him if I got opportunity to break free, I wanted to race it too. I really did. And doggone it, sometime or another, either Friday or Saturday, he put that bumper on and got me a car warm. But that was Billy. He wouldn't have done that he'd have done that for other people, but he wouldn't have come to their house and got their car warm like he did mine. I guess long year. But anyway, that's about sums a lot of that up, except for it didn't matter if it was 208 degrees. My wife's pregnant, coming home from the hospital, and my mother called and said the air conditioner's out. Billy crawls up here in the attic, fixes it, works himself to death while I brought my son home. He'd do that too. And he's a good guy. He was a good guy. So, but as long as I race, I don't know how long that'll be. We'll have Billy AC, like always, big on our car. He was one of my 5 friends, I'm going to tell you that.
Electric choke.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
Damn, who knew? All the planes we flew, good things we've been through. That I'll be standing right here talking to you about another path. I know we love to hit the road and laugh, but something told me that it wouldn't last. Had to switch up, look at things different, see the bigger picture. Those were the days, hard work forever pays. Now I see you in a better place. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side, and now you gon' be with me for the last ride.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
I see you again.
We've come a long way,
yeah, we came a long way
from where we began.
You know we started.
Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
I'll tell you.
When I see you again.
First you both go out your way and the vibe is feeling stronger. What's small turn to a friendship turn to a bond, and that bond will never be broken. The love will never get lost. And when brotherhood come first, then the line will never be crossed. Established it on our own when that line had to be drawn, and that line is what we reach. So remember me when I'm gone. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side, and now you gon' be with me for the last ride.
Let the light guide your way. Yeah. Hold every memory as you go, and every road you take will always lead you home. Oh, it's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
Never forget, we are 01 strong.